Arab Saudi sadar, berubah positif terhadap Yahudi.
This is my first trip abroad as ambassador, and when my team, my colleagues at the State Department said to me, where do you're going to travel, of course, because I deal with anti-Semitism abroad, where do you want to start? I said, want to go to the Gulf.
Utusan khusus Amerika Serikat untuk monitor dan melawan antisemitisme Deborah Libstat berkunjung ke Jeddah, Arab Saudi akhir Juni silam. Ia bertemu pejabat Arab Saudi, Organisasi Kerjasama Islam OKI, dan Akademi Internasional Fikih Islam, dan diskusi dengan media massa Arab Saudi. Kunjungan Libstat diberitakan oleh Arab News dengan judul Arab Saudi terbuka untuk dialog antar agama guna melawan intoleransi agama, sebuah pernyataan yang bisa dinilai publik sebagai perubahan kebijakan Arab Saudi. Bahkan Arab News memberikan edisi khusus Tahun Baru Yahudi kepada Libstat.
So let's talk about your last stop before coming to Israel.
My last stop was in Saudi Arabia, in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and it was fascinating to be there. It is hosting some Jewish groups, small number, and it was willing to engage in serious discussion with me. The portfolio, my tique, as you would say here in Israel, is to monitor and combat anti-Semitism. And they could have said, don't come, or they could have said, yes, come, but had me meet with the deputy minister for, litter, collection of litter. But I met with high-ranking officials, with ministers, with deputy ministers, with people in NGOs and the media. And we had very frank and open discussions. Is all perfect? Is everything, no, of course not. But change begins in increments.
Perubahan apa saja yang dilihat di Arab Saudi berkaitan dengan Yahudi?
A number of years ago, when Muhammad Alisa went to Auschwitz as a scholar of the Holocaust, and someone who has visited there many times, and a scholar of anti-Semitism, and my knowledge of the change in attitudes and the change in this country in the portrayal of the Jew, I was tremendously moved. And also as a great believer in interfaith dialogue and interfaith work cooperation. It can't be just dialogue. If it's dialogue, it's just words. And I know I'm at a newspaper where words count, but still it's got to be more than dialogue. It's very impressive. The political issues, the issue of Israel-Palestine, Israel and the Palestinians, is a very serious political issue. And it's something my country takes very seriously. And I have many colleagues at the State Department who are working very hard to address it and to ameliorate it and to improve it. It's not my area of expertise in that sense, but I recognize its seriousness. But that's separate and apart from the hatred of the Jew or the holding of all Jews responsible because of this particular issue, or saying we don't have to face anti-Semitism until we resolve that. It's as if to say anti-Semitism only comes from that issue. Anti-Semitism transcends the political issue, the issue of Israelis and Palestinians. It's not to say it isn't serious. Of course it's serious, but we can't wait to address anti-Semitism until that is resolved. They both should be addressed together.
Perubahan Arab Saudi terhadap orang Yahudi tentu sangat penting sebagai dasar untuk berhubungan dengan negara orang Yahudi, Israel. Lantas, apakah Libstat melihat ada harapan normalisasi Israel dan Arab Saudi?
Think we will see relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia anytime soon?
We might see something, I don't know when, and I don't want to make predictions. They knew I was coming to Israel next. No one spoke overtly about that. In years past, overt anti-Semitism that was there was directly connected to an overt contempt for Israel. So if you're dealing with one part, it's going to spill over to the other part.
Think the Abraham Accords will cause change in Arab countries regarding the view toward Jews?
I think in many countries. I think there's a change in discourse, there's a change in the region, there's a chance to do something positive, to talk about how do we make the position of Jews in the history of the region more normal. And in fact, there's one, the Arab News, which is the English language paper. It's not an Arabic paper, but they gave me a copy of the cover that they published, I think, this past year on Rosh Hashanah, that said Shana Tova in Hebrew. You wouldn't have seen that a couple of years ago in Saudi Arabia. I see it as a good sign, as a positive trend, and something that should give us a semblance of hope. Numbers in the U.S. are a great concern, and it's harder and harder to divide sometimes between international and domestic. The Biden-Harris administration takes the issue of anti-Semitism very, very seriously. But if I can ameliorate, if I can make it better, for me, what do we say, Dayeno, that will be sufficient.
Perubahan positif di Arab Saudi bisa menjadi inspirasi bagi negara kita. Semoga Arab Saudi makin toleran dan cinta damai. Salam damai dari Fakta Israel.